This content is produced by DarkNetBreaker, a cybersecurity and dark web education brand. All videos, posts, and content are strictly for educational and awareness purposes only. We do not promote, support, or encourage any illegal activity. Our mission is to expose digital threats, protect online users, and educate the public about cybersecurity risks in the modern world. Stay ethical. Stay protected.
Right now, algorithms are automating traditional white-collar work. Content creation, administration, and basic software development are handled by systems that don't require a human salary. This automation has reached the front lines of cybersecurity. In recent tests, an AI agent identified 22 critical vulnerabilities in the Firefox browser entirely on its own. At the same time, threat intelligence experts are reporting that AI can now reverse engineer malware at a speed that traditional analysts struggle to match. For professionals who spent years mastering these technical niches, the sudden proficiency of these models is cause for concern. It suggests that the standard path of technical specialization may be narrowing. This graph illustrates the central problem. While AI can defend, it is also being used by attackers to launch threats at a volume that would have been physically impossible a few years ago. This creates an environment where the number of attacks is scaling much faster than the number of trained humans available to stop them. This gap in capacity creates an urgent demand for a specific type of defender, one who can oversee these automated systems, rather than trying to outcompete them in a race of pure logic. To navigate this, we have to look at the red zone, the specific roles where technical logic is the only barrier to entry. Application security and pure malware analysis sit at the top of this list. AI models are built to parse logic and identify patterns within massive datasets. Scanning millions of lines of code to find a single structural flaw is a task that algorithms perform with a level of speed and consistency that a human brain cannot replicate over an 8-hour shift. This also affects the automation specialist. If your role is primarily focused on writing basic Python scripts to move alerts from one dashboard to another, your core output is now a commodity that any modern language model can generate for free. Even penetration testing, the highly sought-after ethical hacking role, is undergoing a transition. Breaking into a network is essentially a series of logical puzzles, and puzzles can be solved by agents. We are already seeing AI agents perform full end-to-end penetration tests, moving from initial reconnaissance to final exploit development in a fraction of the time it takes an experienced human team. Relying on a single technical skill or the mastery of one specific offensive tool leaves you vulnerable. In a field where the tools themselves are becoming autonomous, passion for the craft doesn't provide a safety net. The roles that remain stable are found in the ironclad zone, areas where the job requires more than just processing data. This begins with defensive security and the SOC analyst. Successful defense requires business context. An AI can flag a server anomaly, but it cannot decide if the risk of a potential breach outweighs the cost of shutting down a company's primary revenue stream during a peak sales window. That decision requires human judgment. This brings us to GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. This diagram shows how GRC acts as the bridge between three disparate zones: legal frameworks, technical infrastructure, and corporate strategy. GRC is stable because of accountability. Legal frameworks and corporate bylaws require a human to sign off on risk assessments and audit evidence. You cannot hold an algorithm legally responsible for a compliance failure, which keeps the human auditor central to the process. Furthermore, the rush to implement AI has actually increased the workload for GRC professionals. Companies now need new governance frameworks and risk profiles specifically to manage the liabilities introduced by these new tools. We see a similar trend in cloud security and identity management. Orchestrating access across thousands of users and disparate cloud services involves a level of architectural complexity that requires a human to oversee the overall strategy. Because machines struggle with legal nuance and operational context, these specific roles provide a higher level of career stability than those focused purely on technical execution. A decade ago, specializing in a single brand of firewall was a viable career path. Today, that narrow focus makes a professional susceptible to obsolescence as network architectures become more fluid and automated. The current market favors the adaptable generalist, the defender who understands how different security domains interact, rather than just how one tool functions. To future-proof your career, focus on this triad: defensive security, GRC, and cloud security. Mastering the overlap between these three areas makes you capable of both defending the technical perimeter and communicating the business risk to leadership. When pursuing this knowledge, be skeptical of generic AI certificates marketed by legacy organizations. Most of these programs offer little more than theoretical definitions of terms you can find for free online. True proficiency comes from building. Experiment with open-source code and learn to create your own agents to handle repetitive tasks. The goal is to understand the technology well enough to use it as a force multiplier for your own work. Learning to manage AI at a high level allows you to secure systems at a scale that was previously impossible. In this environment, the professionals who bridge the gap between technical defense and business strategy will remain the most critical assets in a secure